Hey, and welcome to Matt and Jess TV. I am Matt Roast.
And I'm Jessica Bun Bun.
Welcome to our new edition of Big Brother 28 live feed spoilers. Today is Monday. It is Veto Ceremony Day.
It is also Felix's first day at preschool.
Hey! So it is a very big, it's a very, very big day here. And it's also a day where I wish there was a pie that I could pie myself in the face because
We could make that happen.
I do love, see, this is why I like pies in the face. They taste good and you get something in return. Okay, now this is the thing. Yesterday, I was on here being like, because this is Haley and this is I don't know how much waffling we're going to get. And it's like, they are still finding a way to mix up a little bit of this batter in advance. There are more debates going on already than I think we could have already anticipated.
I thought this was going to be an easy breezy, smooth week all the way to Haley going unless she won the blockbuster.
Yeah.
But that is actually not the case. I'm not saying that it's all flipping around or whatever, but it is only Monday.
Yeah.
And there are discussions happening of maybe Haley doesn't go.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be really, really interesting. Like, there are some legitimate reasons, and I know Haley's not the easiest person for these players to live with. That is very, very well documented. But if you're thinking long term, there are some reasons to keep her. There are reasons to get rid of her. Obviously, who wins the blockbuster is a big part of that as well.
Yep.
But before we go further in talking about any of this, be sure to join our YouTube memberships. We have a new Big Brother exclusive video over there that is all about the downfall of the tool shed. What happened to what appeared to be one of the more dominant alliances in Big Brother? It kind of Thanos snapped its way out of existence. So we really deep dive in that. It's a really fun discussion. And we also do exclusive Big Brother videos on our YouTube memberships every single week.
We have a new one coming this week as well. And also we are covering Reacher there starting this week, just for our YouTube members and our Patreons. And coming up in September, we will be covering Slow Horses, which is a favorite of ours.
Yes, thank you guys so much for your support.
Thank
It
you.
absolutely means the world to us. All right, so the veto ceremony is happening today. It has not happened officially at the time of this recording, but we're just going to make it clear. Unless Kamu has a complete out-of-body experience, he's not using it. I mean,
No.
we're going to have Haley, Chuck, and Barrett on the block heading into Thursday.
Yeah, there's no surprises here of what's going to be happening with this veto.
No, like he has made a promise to Lala that this is what he's going to do, how he's going to go about it.
Yes.
Well, we know Kamu can be sneaky. We have multiple examples of that. He's also somebody that if he says, I gave my word to somebody, I think he cares about that. He has a value system in his head. He's not going to want to break that because the optics of doing that, especially to somebody like Lala, like I think that's going to end really, really badly for him.
Yeah, he doesn't want to break what he's building over here with Lala and Taylor.
No. Okay, so was there at least some campaigning from Haley and Chuck heading into this? Because I think a lot of people were preemptively getting frustrated, us included here.
Yeah, Haley and Chuck both tried to campaign a little bit to Kamu, but I mean, he's not budging.
No, it's like there's nothing Haley can say at this point because, Haley's already burned him in some ways. He knows how everybody in the house feels about her.
Right.
Like, it's pretty cut and dry if she's up there on Blockbuster. I mean, we'll talk about some debates, but it's like more than likely she does end up going and in this hypothetical situation where she does stay and let's say she gets into power, like who is she going to go after? Is she going to go after Kamu or is she going to go after the people who actually put her on the block? I think Kamu may just feel like, she might be mad at me, but there might be some bigger fish for her to fry a little bit later.
Absolutely. But at the same time, does Kamu really want to burn what he's built with Lala at this point? If Haley's just kind of like, oh, maybe I'm going to go after the people that really put me up here. Kamu's just spent a good amount of time building that up.
Yeah, and Kamu wants to maintain a lot of that. What I think is most interesting are the conversations Kamu was having with Chuck yesterday and everything leading into the veto ceremony. Like, he's made it pretty clear to Chuck. And I mean, both Chuck and Haley on some level knew that he's not going to use the veto, but he's reassured Chuck that, all right, if it's you and Haley, Haley's more than likely going to go. He has also given him, this is what I mean by he can be a little bit sneaky. He's given him some false hope that's like, okay, Chuck, maybe you're not completely dead here versus Barrett. Like, maybe you do still have a chance. He's gassed him up a little bit more than he really has to.
Yeah, he really shouldn't have done that because it feels like Barrett is not going against anybody.
No, I think what Kamu's trying to do here is just like garner a little bit of goodwill in the event Chuck does win the blockbuster, because
Yes,
then he can go back to him and it's like, I knew you could do this, Chuck. I
that's
knew
right.
you could win this blockbuster. I thought maybe you didn't need it, but here you are. You did. Kamu's trying to look out for himself in the long term here, which I mean, that is what everyone should be doing in this game, right?
Absolutely. If Chuck ends up not leaving, Chuck ends up on the jury. Who gets that vote? It's Kamu.
Well, so Kamu's done a lot right when it comes to both keeping himself off the block,
Yep.
gaining support from new allies. I think
Yes.
this is probably what he wanted with the veto in the first place, to show, Taylor and Lala, I'm on your side.
Yep.
Here's some evidence of it.
Yep.
But if there is an interesting mistake he might have made today, it is that he talked a lot to D about how he's not using the veto. He made a promise to Lala, so on
Mhm.
and so forth. But they also went into a recounting of the great Saturday gym room incident in which Angela is brought in and it leads to her yelling at Haley.
Yes.
Like, he talked about wanting to bring her in specifically for the purposes of stirring up more drama. And it's
Yeah.
just like, if you're D long term, do you go to Angela and be like, oh, by the way, remember that gym fight? Kamu was basically just bringing you in, like you're sort of bringing in a catapult to take out some of your adversaries. You were just a tool for him. He was using your emotions, and I feel like Angela's going to be very emotional about that.
For sure. I think that that information will come up at the right time where if she really needs to bring that up to Angela because it's time to put the target on Kamu, then she will bring that up. That will get Angela on board and they will take their shot.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing here. And we'll get into this a little bit later. There are people in the house right now who are thinking that Kamu should be the target sooner rather than later. Like,
Right.
he has put himself in a good spot with a few people, but that does not mean he's in a good spot with basically everybody. Like, there's nobody in this house right now, other than maybe Devins, because Devins has the diamond power of veto, who is just like completely and utterly safe at all times.
Yeah, if I'm the vets, I don't want Kamu to stay in this game. He really is making all these inroads with the other side of the house. He's not working with them anymore.
Yeah, like you got to be conscious, and I think a lot of people are starting to be conscious. But all right, well, is Haley still the target? Like, let's get more into this.
Yes, she is, but it's complicated.
Very okay. So Angela and Dee did have this conversation about, do we make a flip? Do we go ahead and get rid of Chuck if, Haley and Chuck are up there together?
Right.
Do we something a little bit risky? And I mean, the real reason to go with this is just that people are always going to want out Haley because she is so unlikable. She's
Yes.
very, very hard to live with. Whereas Chuck, I'm not saying he is the easiest person to live with, but he is much more capable of sort of falling into the background. He's not going to have anybody. I know they have talked about, let's get rid of Haley, let's get rid of Chuck, and then we can just all move forward to the next part of the game. It's easy to do that. It's a lot harder when you get into the next HOH room, and here is this guy who's not really as big of a threat anymore. Why are you going to get rid of him then?
Yeah, that's the thing is like Chuck is not going to be voting with you for sure. He is going to kind of fall into the background. You're not really going to know
Mm.
where he's standing on anything. With Haley,
Yeah.
if Angela was able to like not have that fight, I know we can't go back in a time machine, even though it's the theme of the season. If she could have not had that fight or find a way to really smooth over that fight and they can get rid of Chuck, they could have maybe pulled Haley for a while to really kind of finesse that relationship of, you know what? Look at Kamu. Look at who he's talking to. He's over there with Lala. You think he didn't have a hand of putting you on the block? We didn't do that.
Yeah, I think it's something that in a perfect world makes sense for Angela and Dee, and even really Devins too, where it's just like you keep the bigger target because you guys are really, really big targets.
That's
People,
right.
they are going to want to go after you, but I think Dee, for now, has talked herself and Angela maybe a little bit out of it, mostly just because, listen, we already caused a lot of chaos on this past eviction. Do we really want to orchestrate a big flip for 2 weeks in a row? Because like the more we do this, the more people probably aren't going to be on board with us long term. It would be fun, but is it going to build more trust with anybody?
Yeah, like, yes, this is a game of lies, but you do have to be able to build trust.
Here is the irony in everything that's happening right now, because I think Dee and Angela are probably like, would we ever have the votes to do this? Would we be able to pull? The funny thing is, you've got Barrett, Drew, Melody, and Mallory who are also talking about the same thing
Yep.
at this point.
Yeah.
And, you know, by the way, not that we need to talk about this too much. Mallory, Melody, their punishment is over. They can now actually go to different rooms without each other.
Great.
Great job, ladies. You pulled it off. But yeah, their whole thinking is that Haley, would she really go after us? Like, you know, she is that big target. Would she go after maybe some other people, get some vengeance on Lala Taylor? Would she go after Kamu because that whole thing fell apart? Like, I think they are all thinking now from this vantage point of how do we just stay in the background even though we are like a pseudo group of 4 people?
Okay, if I was this group, I would get Haley out because she's had an HOH and Chuck is not. And
Yeah.
because Chuck feels like he doesn't even know where he is most of the time. Yes, he won that safety, but he has not won HOH yet.
Yeah.
But Haley has, and she's going to be able to play for it.
Yeah.
I'm not interested in keeping Haley as a what if she would put us on the block or not. Well, she's won an HOH.
Yeah.
Chuck, yeah, we don't know if he'll put us on the block or not, but he hasn't won that yet. So the chances of him not winning are maybe a little bit higher, and that's good. I would rather keep somebody in who's not really going to win.
Yeah, and this is the other thing. Haley does not like Melody in the slightest, like
Right.
at all. And I just think that sort of personal vendetta is enough for me to sort of just be like, you know what? Let's just go ahead and get rid of this person. Maybe they won't go after us, but what if they do?
Right.
Like, you know, she seems to be capable of mending some fences here or there, despite some big blowups that happen. It's just, it feels like it's too much of a risk for them, and for them especially, like this 4, they really just need to go, just take
I
a nap,
know.
relax, don't do anything too, let these other people just go after each other for as long as possible.
Yes.
The only benefit to maybe keeping Haley beyond anything that we've said is it seems like she goes through these cycles of, oh, I really want to win this blockbuster. Oh, I'm going to show these people what's up. To then being like, I'm at peace. No matter what happens, I'm fine going home. I have a great life.
And that totally makes sense. That is kind of the human way of things,
Yeah.
where you do go through all your different stages of, we'll call it grief. Because if she really doesn't want to leave, sometimes, yeah, you're going to go through the denial. You'll gas yourself up. You'll, end up accepting it and be like, it was a good, what am I going to do? And then you'll fight. It's just the human way.
Yeah, and I think that's something that we have a hard time thinking about as much on the outside because we're not stuck in like this weird, super intense environment. Okay, let's get into the idea that somebody may be going after Kamu.
Yep.
Who is it? My girl Melody. Let's
Yep.
go.
Yep.
Okay, so she has talked a lot with Mallory about this, and this is actually something that's been brewing in her head for a couple of days. It's like she doesn't always know everything that's going on. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like, okay, Melody, you were the second coming of Vanessa Russo or Dan Giesling.
Right.
But she has sort of recognized, all right, Kamu's moving around the house a lot. Like, he may have some sort of deal going on with Lala and Taylor if he's not using the power of veto. That tells us that, all right, he can adapt. He can sort of move around this game. I also feel Melody that he could easily win the game if he makes it to the end. And I kind of agree with the right combination of people. It's not that I'm rooting for Kamu by any means. It's just like, if he gets to the end with Chuck, nobody's voting for Chuck. Everybody's going to vote for Kamu to win.
Kamu has also been doing great jury management at this point. Like, he really is putting in the work to, not make people feel like clowns going out the door right now. And if he could end up having someone like a Haley or a Chuck, and he's like really finessing this and they're on the jury, Kamu can win this.
Yeah, he can. Like, I think that's something that it's hard to really think about early on because you have so many people left, but this is the time where you have to start to. Now, I know there's probably people out there being like, well, why are they not talking about the icons? And a lot of that, I think, comes down to a couple of different things here. Number one, they don't know, obviously, about the crossovers, Melody and Mallory.
No.
Like, they're not clued into everything. But at the same time, they know Drew does a lot of talking to them. Barrett does a lot of talking to them. They have talked about maybe they can all group together, but at the same time, they all are of the belief that they probably have some powers. And like, even if they don't know what they are, most powers in Big Brother have an expiration date. So I think there's just a lot of, let's just let these players play out their powers. It's frustrating. We wish we could do something about it, production, but you really can't.
No, they can. They can flush them out. Like, they don't know how long if there is an expiration date, like there doesn't seem to be with these. But Devon's is 6 weeks. You gonna let Devon's go 6 weeks more into this game? You guys are wild if you're doing that. Like, you need to flush it out and then put him back up again. And I say this as somebody who wants to see Devon's at the end. You can't let somebody keep a power or a survivor keep an idol every single week and you know that they have it. You have to get it off the board.
You have to figure out something. You have to do something so that they are weaker for whatever the next phase of the game is.
Yeah, like, what are you waiting for?
I think it's obviously a very delicate operation, and I understand all that, but that's why you need to rally as much numbers behind you as possible so that whatever happens in a hypothetical Diamond Power of Veto, you can still figure out a way that you have the numbers on your side and do whatever you want. And I think the case against Devon's right now is that he could make it very far. He could win at the end of the game. He's extremely well-spoken. He's pretty like he just has so many things going for him. And I mean, it's really the same with D. But for now, what Melody can do is try to plant some seeds, talk about it with Mallory, talk about it with Barrett. Like, Melody's real issue here is just that she doesn't really have any influence beyond like this small group of people. She hasn't put in the work with Taylor or Lala that, you know, I really think she should have been doing a lot earlier. They are smart. They are loyal. They could have worked more with her.
They could have, but they blew it. And now Kamu's in there doing what they should have done.
Yeah, that's sort of the issue there. Now, there are just what I think is interesting over the next few days. It's just there are a lot of like little subtle things that are brewing no matter who ends up going home this week.
Yes.
We do have this looming situation maybe with Melody and Kamu. We also have one between Taylor and some of the icons where we talked about that. Taylor is already looking at the icons. Like, she wants to get some of them out. She has backed off a little on, okay, Angela and Dee, we need them out before jury. It seems like at the very least, she's okay with them like a tiny bit longer.
Yeah.
But still, there is Devon's. There is still that danger out there. She's just trying to plant seeds now to Drew and just being like, you know, Drew, here's some interesting factoid for you. These icons, they've never been nominated. Like, isn't that interesting?
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I get it. You don't want to do it right at the beginning, but yes, you do need to get them on the block at some point.
Yeah.
We are getting much deeper into the game.
And then Drew goes and gives this information to Dee.
Of course. Listen, here's the thing.
Yes.
Okay, like, I really like Drew. I've been writing for Drew since before this season. He is working with the icons. And the thing is while I don't love a steamroll, and now things are splitting up, so it's less of a steamroll, I like Dee and Devon, so I'm not mad about this.
No.
This has been Drew's game since the beginning.
Yeah, it has. And I think there are ways in which Drew can evolve. And like, I mean, maybe I'm reading too much into it.
No, I agree. I think that he can, but I think having the icons and continuing to work with them for his game to get further, way further in the game, and to have them continue to protect him is the way to go. But he has to turn on them at some point. He needs to get somebody else to start picking at least one of them off the board so that when he gets a bit further in, if Drew is the person who ends up taking out one of the icons and he's able to get to the end, I think he wins.
I think there is a really, really good chance. Like, okay.
He really does a great job socially. He has been very loyal to the icons. And if he's able to take one of them off the board at the right time and make that move, I think he's got a good case. But I am concerned that he is not going to ever make that move. And he's just going to be like, I'm just going to let other people take those moves and do that for me. And then he won't have that on his resume.
Okay, I'm going to go glass half full here with Drew. So I'm going to go take my glass. I'm going to fill it up with some good quality, I don't know, lemonade here. Okay, we're going to make lemons of lemonade with Drew. So maybe Drew is thinking, I need to give this information back to D because I want D to be focused on Taylor and Lala. I mean, D and Angela have already talked about how Taylor's really, really smart, and that's somebody they need to be worried about. I think he's also fine letting Taylor look over here at the icons and being really, really worried so that they can just go at each other. He can buy his time because he's had some conversations with Taylor, but it's not like they're super, super close. He doesn't need Taylor for his game long term. What he needs is to just find a way to keep Melody and Mallory out of trouble. And it does feel like, and this may just be me projecting because I love them all, it doesn't feel like he's throwing those two under the bus as much as he used to.
The thing is, too, is that Drew just doesn't have the numbers because even kind of working with Melody and Mallory, that's just the three of them. I do not include Barrett because Barrett is another Drew where he is just going back to D over and over and over again. Even though we've seen him have his little moments of whatever, he is always back with D whenever D says. So I know I'm out here like riding for Drew, and I am. It's just he's kind of in a weird spot, especially with how bad it was for him last week. And I know he does not know everything, and he got himself off the block. But he was in huge trouble last week. So to continue on doing what he's doing, be like, hey, we're still rolling along. I'm still bringing you information. See, nothing has changed. It's a game move that makes sense for right now.
And I know that there are people out there who are probably like, Barrett, why are you not just telling Drew everything right now so his eyes could be open? And here is a simple answer. Barrett is on the block. Barrett does not want that information finding its way back to the icons. And then, he loses some votes. We'll talk more about Barrett here in just a second, but this kind of goes along with Drew and the information that he's passed on to D. And I think this is why D is starting to get a little bit paranoid about should we keep Haley. It's that Haley is such a good house target for everyone to have, and she wants to try to find a way to cultivate a new house target. That way, the moment the next HOH happens, nobody's looking at her. Like, this is a very tried and true strategy. Sometimes it gets kind of ugly in a not fun way when you do this. So hopefully that's not what ends up happening, but she's actively thinking about this already.
Yes.
All right, Barrett, you may be frustrating. You may be playing the game for other people. One thing you are, though, is you are at least well aware about Big Brother, and you have spent a lot of the last 24 hours starting to be like, am I really that safe?
Yeah, you really are. You really are, Barrett. You really are.
Yeah, he knows that pawns go home. He's not dumb. He knows that there are going to be discussions on flipping the vote on him. And actually, there have been. They've been small.
They're small.
But Taylor has brought up the possibility, but she's also kind of just looked at the numbers and it's just like, where do I go with this? Like, I don't have enough people to try to make something like this happen. I mean, if Barrett did something like tell Drew and that information got back to the icons, like, yeah, that could change. That's why he has to play his cards really, really closely. And since Barrett is hardly a competition beast so far this season, we can't count on him to win the blockbuster.
No, like, you can take care of Barrett and you should take care of Barrett at some point, but it's not now. You do have to break up that red corner. Who knows? It could end up that they all come back together next week. This is Big Brother, right? You need to split that up.
Yeah, like, you have to be aware if you're one of these other voters that it's just like, okay, is everything Kamu doing this week just a function of I don't want to go on the block.
That's right.
I need to build myself some more numbers. If we all magically get through this, we can rebuild. Like, you have no incentive to trust this guy just because he has like said and done certain things to you in the past several days.
Yeah, it's just been a few days and he's been working with this other group for a while. And at the same, so on that same wavelength, I would be concerned if we've kind of seen him working with this other group for all these weeks. And then all of a sudden he's like, you know what? I'm done with them. And now I'm riding with you. I'd be like, okay, so you just drop them like this.
Yeah.
You could drop me like this too.
Yeah. And I think that's something that maybe subconsciously that Melody is thinking about as well. Like, she doesn't know the full existence of all these other alliances, but You see people talking to people all the time.
Yes.
Now you're put these people are on the block and you're magically, of course you're gonna think that there's like some sort of deal that is going on here.
Yeah, the biggest clue is that Kamu has this veto and he's not going to use it.
Yeah, exactly. So like the last thing to think about when it comes to why Barrett is pretty much 100% safe here is that very rarely in Big Brother do you want to go against what the HOH wants. Like everyone, well, mostly everyone was willing to do that with Haley because they don't like Haley. They want to get her out. Lala, I just don't think they're going to want to do that to Lala. I mean, it's number one, the way that she won the HOH, but number two, like, I'm just going to say it. She basically thinks that Barrett is useless. Like, she has just said that
She's right. Like, besides a vote for D and to like work along with D, like, I agree. He's not that's going to be the thing on her resume. I was HOH and I got out Barrett. Like, no.
there was a moment yesterday where I started to be like, did Jess write the HOH letter for Lala? And did she put in there, by the way, Barrett just wants to have the Big Brother super because she literally parroted what you have been saying in these videos for weeks that he just wants the experience.
And he does. I think it's so obvious that's what's happening. He's not really talking game with really anybody. A little bit here and there. It's not anything.
No.
He's just there to be in the Big Brother house, have a good time, have his flirt mance. All that's fine or whatever, but he's not really playing the game.
No, and for us on the outside, obviously we'll want people to play the game, and that is
it's a
why
bit boring.
there is that darker impulse in my brain that is kind of like, what if Haley stayed? Are we going to get a lot more drama that comes around with that?
Yes.
All right, we'll turn this over to you guys now. What do you want to see happen in the Big Brother 28 house over the next few days? Do you actually want to see Haley stay? Do you think it's beneficial for a lot of people? And also, join our YouTube memberships. Our exclusive video all about the demise of the tool shed is over there.
Yeah.
Thank you so much
Thank
for your
you.
support. We'll see you here next time.